Now, I know that Game Week 20 hasn't even finished yet, and to be fair, there is a bit of time now before Game Week 21, but that doesn't stop me making some FPL content, and I hope you guys appreciate it. Here we are then with players to buy and avoid for Game Week 21. So I wanted to start then by looking at another clean sheet odds model from 11ify. I usually like to look at teams outside of the top three when looking at this model because the top three is perpetually Arsenal, Liverpool and Man City, right? In fact, Man City seem to be kind of turning a corner out of their poor form. Would I back them defensively though? Still not sure. From an attacking perspective, they look okay, but I'm still not sure they can be necessarily backed defensively. Aston Villa, 4 of their next 5 games are in and around or above 30% clean sheet odds, so they could be pretty decent. Fulham as well don't look too bad in 4 of their next 5. Forest have got a couple of tricky fixtures mixed in. I look at Liverpool obviously in match day or game week 21 coming up, but 43% in 2, and they are just the 3rd best defence in the league, right, in my opinion. Well, and factually. And also, I think of, you compare them to Arsenal and Liverpool, you can't really get your hands on an Arsenal defender or a Liverpool defender for lower than 5 million, or one that at least plays regularly, whereas you can for Nottingham Forest. The likes of Sells, Milenkovic, Murillo potentially if he's back. Or you've got, Aina a little bit more expensive as well. There's plenty of options from Forest. Crystal Palace up there. Newcastle as well. Chelsea kind of dropped off. I think that 10% in Game Week 23 kind of let them down. In Everton as well. Sean Dyche, he might not be playing the most exciting football with Everton, but they do seem to be able to keep clean sheets. And those kind of teams between 3rd and 10th, I would suggest are the ones to be targeted. And I'll get onto some specific players now. So Munoz then of Crystal Palace is still probably my top defender that I'd aim to bring into my team. He has been so close to attacking returns in his last 3 or 4 game weeks. If you've picked him up and you're sitting with him now feeling annoyed that he hasn't got his attacking returns, I think you should be justified in feeling that way. You have been, as a Munoz owner, really unlucky. And I still think he's a buy. Crystal Palace, I definitely think have improved on where they were at the start of the season, both from an attacking perspective and defensively. And Munoz just looks super attacking. His underlying data from the last sort of 4 or 5 games that he's played has just been crazy. He should have probably come away with, I'd say, at least 3 attacking returns from his last 5 games. So, like I said, if you've got him, you should consider yourself unlucky. And you look at the coming fixtures they've got. Leicester, West Ham, I'd say there's potential clean sheets and attacking returns in those 2 games. Brentford, it's a tough fixture. Brentford could have a good chance of scoring. But Munoz, I think, has a good chance for attacking returns. And then it's Man United and Everton. I think that's a pretty decent set of 5 upcoming fixtures, either from a potential for keeping clean sheets or getting attacking returns. 4.7 million. He's only 4.8% owned, so he's a super differential. And those fixtures coming up look really good. And like I said, I think Crystal Palace have turned a corner both from a defensive point of view, so I would back them to keep some clean sheets coming up, and also from an attacking point of view. Another defender who probably hasn't come away with all of the plaudits from Game Week 20, he's just scored 2 points. However, I still think Lewis Hall is another defender I would be putting towards the top of my list to buy. The upcoming fixtures for Newcastle, I'd say, are pretty good. Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham in the next 4. Even that Man City one, you probably back Newcastle to get a result, although not sure Lewis Hall is the strongest option for that game. But at his price point, 4.7 million, you'd be happy to bench him for that game if you needed to. I think Lewis Hall offers, obviously clean sheets. He's kept 7 in the 20 games he's played and 4 attacking returns. And you look at that, that's 11 returns in 20 appearances for a 4.7 million player. I think that's a pretty good level of returns. And those fixtures coming up, Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, all 4 of those games, I think Newcastle have potential to keep clean sheets. And one thing I'd say about Newcastle is, particularly at St James's Park, I think they can show up, give any team a good game, and potentially keep a clean sheet. And I'm pretty sure Sven Botman is back soon for Newcastle as well. At least I think he's back fit. I don't know if he made the bench today. I didn't check, but I'm pretty sure he's back soon. So by the time Game Week 21 actually comes round, he could be fit enough to start for Newcastle, which I think is a pretty exciting prospect. And certainly makes Lewis Hall a pretty exciting prospect as well. Like I said, potential for attacking returns in those games and clean sheets. 4.7 million. Now, if you don't have him already, I still think he's a really smart buy. And to be completely honest with you, I would say buy him over Arsenal and Liverpool defenders. Probably not. But, you know, it's Lewis Hall, Munoz, maybe Forest defenders. Those are the kind of ones to be targeting right now. So a quick look at some projected goals data then, and ultimately we never really see massive surprises here. Again, the top three teams being Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City, that seems to be the case pretty much every week. But we do see a big boost for, well, on previous weeks for Newcastle. They are the fourth best team for projected goals. Chelsea up there, Spurs up there, Villa up there, Man United, Bournemouth, Fulham and Palace. And you got Brentford, as well. I'd say sort of that third, fourth, so Newcastle down to Brentford are probably the teams you should be targeting attacking assets from, with the exception of maybe one or two players from, maybe Forest, Chris Wood, Brighton maybe. Outside of that, I'd probably steer clear of some of these teams from an attacking perspective. And I see Wolves here as well. Cunha obviously suspended. A lot of people probably just benched Cunha for Game Week 20, given he was only suspended for one Premier League game. However, when you look at the projected goals coming up, for the next three fixtures, Wolves, according to this model, are projected to score less than one goal. So I know it's pretty close, 0.98 in one game, 0.96 in the other, but still less than one. So that suggests, and they're the 20th team in terms of goals for the next five. Yeah, interesting stat I thought I'd share there. So Wolves bottom, and I'd probably target Newcastle to sort of Brentford for players to buy. With Game Week 21 specifically in mind, I did want to talk about the captaincy. Now, I think Salah's got Nottingham Forest away, right? And given the form that Forest are in at the moment this season from a defensive perspective, I think there is a potential case to not captain Salah and go for someone else. When you look at the fixtures some of the other players have got, I think there's genuine potential. And I look at one player in particular, and that's Erling Haaland with Brentford away. Now, I know not everyone is going to have him, don't get me wrong, but he's still 31.1% owned throughout the game. And I would also make just a general point that in terms of attacking assets in the game, particularly forwards at the moment, there aren't a whole lot of forwards that I'd be desperately looking to get in my team, which I do think potentially opens the door for Haaland to either come back in or obviously to keep hold of him. And I think with Brentford away compared to Nottingham Forest away for Salah, you could also captain Palmer, don't get me wrong, but I do think there's a real opportunity to go different from Salah. And with the form that Haaland's in at the moment, I really do think he's found a bit of form and confidence in recent games, albeit the fixtures have been good for Man City. Although, I would say they're pretty good coming up, certainly for the next two. And yeah, I just wanted to mention Haaland because I think he's starting to find his feet again. And I think he could be an outside captaincy shout for Game Week 21. As an owner myself, if he gets through the FA Cup, etc., unscathed, I think he could be a decent captaincy shout. I could not make a video summarising Game Week 20 and looking ahead to 21 without talking about Brian and Mbeumo, could I? What I've got here, just to add to my own misery, is his record since I sold him in Game Week 14. 7 appearances, 5 goals, 2 assists, so 7 attacking returns. I mean, he's absolutely killed me, and he remains on 31% ownership. And I'd actually say the only fixture there I'd be anywhere near put off by is that Liverpool one. And even then, could Brentford score against Liverpool, particularly at home? I think they've got a good chance of doing so. That Man City game, Man City have definitely not proved themselves defensively recently. From an attacking perspective, they look to be finding their form again. But from a defensive perspective, I'd still say they're a team. Yeah, still really a team to target, despite what those clean sheet odds said. So I would not be worried about going into that Man City game. And then after the Liverpool game, it's Palace, Tottenham, West Ham. I think that's a great set of fixtures. And I just think I was still justified in my reasons for getting rid of him because the numbers and the underlying numbers he was putting up before Game Week 14 and that sort of 5 game week run beforehand, I don't think he had a shot on target for like 4 games. So there was genuine justification for getting rid of him. And to be fair for me, getting rid of Mbeumo allowed me to buy Isak, who is in such good form. And, well, everyone has him at this point, so I didn't even think it'd be worth talking about him in this video. But it did allow me to get Isak. But yeah, I do regret selling him in the sense that he's not in my team anymore. Cannot deny he's a great option. Let me know in the comments if you do or don't have Mbeumo at the moment. One final midfielder I thought would be worth talking about. I mentioned Isak previously there. He's hot property at the moment, obviously, is Isak. But I wouldn't say he's going under the radar by any stretch of the imagination. But I do think Anthony Gordon at the moment is in pretty good form. Well, I know he's got 5 attacking returns in his last 5 appearances. And the fixtures for Newcastle coming up, as we said when going through Lewis Hall, are really good. Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, and even Man City away. Like, you couldn't completely rule out his opportunity to, chances of scoring there, given, I still think Man City are not the tidiest of defences. So yeah, the run of next 5 fixtures are good. I'd be a little bit concerned about potential facial injury. I'm pretty sure he could have broken his nose in the game in Game Week 20, but he's a tough old cookie, isn't he? And he carried on. I think he played 78 or so minutes in that game, so proving his fitness. Yeah, I really like Anthony Gordon. And in previous game weeks gone by, I was saying that I don't think there's a standout kind of mid-price midfielder in the game at the moment. And if I were to structure, an ideal midfield in FPL, I'd go for Salah and Palmer, and then 2 sort of sub 6 million midfielders alongside them. But I don't think that's the case anymore. I think with the recent form of Anthony Gordon and Mbeumo continuing to put up decent numbers despite a whole load of people selling him, I really do think there's players 7 to 8 million in Mbeumo and Gordon who are worth buying. So, yeah, I'm kind of going back on a point I made previously. The sort of dynamic, I think, is probably the way to say it, of FPL has slightly changed, I think, in my mind, where, yeah, you can have cheap midfielders, but I think Brian and Mbeumo and Gordon will deliver value as well. All right, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Something to keep you ticking along while we're waiting for Game Week 21 to start. We've got the FA Cup coming up at the weekend. So I believe the Game Week 21 deadline is Tuesday next week. So we've got a little bit of time, but I thought, given it's Saturday night, people, either really or very happy about how FPL has gone. So I thought I'd make some content to keep you ticking over. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments what you thought about my thoughts and opinions around those players there. And if you've still got Mbeumo in your team. And yeah, I think that's everything. If you haven't already enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the Goal to Goal channel. Should be just there on your screen. Sorry about my cold. I'm still a bit coldy. Apologies for that. Hopefully you can get around it by listening to my voice regardless. And yeah, I'll catch you in my next video.